Hello everyone, and welcome back to Stories with me, Jesse. And today we're once again looking at the people who ask us to decide if their actions were justified over at Reddit/Am I the A-hole? Let me know what you think of these stories in the comments, as well as any suggestions you might have that we may just use in a future installment. Prepare yourself to reach an unbiased verdict, cause we're getting started now. Our first story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not waking up my girlfriend for her exam after I overheard her calling me a little bitch? My girlfriend has online summer courses and she had an exam for one of them this morning. I usually wake her up for pretty much everything because she sleeps through her phone alarm, no matter how long it buzzes or how many she sets. She has joked that I'm her butler before, and within the context of a relationship, it's okay, so I didn't mind. Obviously, I want to love my partner and try to make her life easy. However, last night she was chatting with her friends, and she thought I couldn't hear. She was bragging that I'm her little bitch, and I do everything for her when she tells me to, etc. It really hurt my feelings, because they were making comments like, good, put him in his place, and she was agreeing. She specifically said, yeah, I'm not worried about tomorrow because the bitch will make sure I'm up and he'll probably have breakfast ready for me too. I went to bed pretty hurt by it, and come morning, I didn't bother to wake her up when her alarm started to go. She usually only gets up when someone physically shakes her, but I let her turn off her alarm, and she slipped back into sleep, and I turned around and went back to sleep too. When she woke up, she was yelling at me, saying I'm an a-hole, and I've cost her exam, and I'm a piece of shit for what I did. Whoa now. While it wasn't exactly the nicest thing to purposefully let your girlfriend sleep in through her test, I'd say it was completely deserved, considering that she keeps belittling you and treating you like her personal slave. Since you didn't exactly sabotage her, and it's not your fault she slept in through her alarm, I don't think you're the a-hole at all. But what do you guys think? Let's start a conversation in the comments. Moving on, our next story is called, Am I the a-hole for kicking down a door at my friend's house? So last weekend, a few mates and I got together and had drinks/dinner while watching bad movies. The apartment belonged to Sophia. At some point, she asked if I could get something out of her walk-in pantry while she cooked. Her and another one of her friends locked me in. I have claustrophobia as a result of trauma I experienced as a child. I don't feel comfortable sharing online. They are aware of it, so I panicked and begged them to let me out. After 2 to 3 minutes of them laughing, I couldn't take it anymore, so I kicked the door, which broke the hinges and caused it to fall off. It was only small and made of seemingly flimsy wood. I ended up having a screaming match with the two that locked me in, while a third friend arrived. Said third friend agreed that what they did was terrible, but the other two said I overreacted and should pay for the door. I disagreed, so my friend and I left. Sophia has contacted me asking me for money, but I'm steadfast in believing I shouldn't pay for anything. I also think I'm owed an apology. Am I the a-hole? Oh my gosh! So you were locked in a small space, and when your friends wouldn't let you out, you broke the door down to escape. Bud, you are totally not the a-hole here. She can replace her own damn door after putting you through such trauma. And I would certainly consider making new friends who wouldn't be so quick to use your fears and weaknesses against you for their own entertainment. Our next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for cussing at my mother-in-law after she banned my 5-year-old daughter from her house? I have a 5-year-old daughter named Colette. Ever since she was born, my mother-in-law has called my daughter Letters as a nickname, because Colette ends in let, I'm guessing. It's not the greatest nickname in the world, but I let it go. The other day, my daughter randomly said, "Why does Grandma call me Letters? My name is Colette." I told her, it's her nickname for you. That's weird. Do you not like being called Letters? Not really. It's okay to tell Grandma that you want to be called Colette instead of Letters. Colette went to my mother-in-law's house today. My husband dropped her off and picked her up, so I didn't see my mother-in-law at all that day. That night I get a call from my mother-in-law. She tells me that it was really rude for Colette to say she didn't like her nickname, and that I shouldn't have told her to say that. She said I was raising her to be bratty. She also said that Colette couldn't come over until she apologized and said that she likes being called Letters. That last part really pissed me off. I told her, what the f***? You're banning a 5-year-old girl from your house for not liking a stupid nickname. That's when I hung up on her. Am I the a-hole for using that kind of language with my mother-in-law? Really? Your mother-in-law is insulting you and your daughter over a nickname and demanding an apology from a 5-year-old, and you're worried about using foul language? Ahem. All seriousness, I think that it's great you're teaching your child to be honest about things that bother her, and personally feel that you are far from the a-hole. While I hope you two work it out, I wouldn't cave to her demands and make her think it's okay to be such a tyrant. Our next story is called, Am I the a-hole for making a complaint against a nursery worker due to how she reacted to my wife picking our kid up? My wife, 36, and I, 37 male, have 2 kids, a daughter, 8, and a son, 3. My wife is an essential worker as she's a doctor. She works extremely long hours with hardly any days off. Whilst I work a typical 9-to-5 job, so I've always taken care of arranging the kids for school and care, etc. Well, with lockdown, I've been able to homeschool my daughter, but since my wife is an essential worker, my son's nursery has still been able to take him in, so I've dropped him off there as normal, as even though I'm homeschooling my other kid, I'm fitting that around me working from home. It makes it easier for my son to still have his routine, and so I can do my work and so on. Anyway, I was going to pick him up like normal, but my wife chose to do it as she was off at that time and could actually get him. The people at this nursery know my wife, as do the parents, even though she's rarely there. She was actually happy to be able to pick our son up from the nursery for once, and I thought it went fine until she came home in tears. She told me this nursery worker who has just started there didn't believe that my wife was our son's mother, as this worker had only ever seen me. The other workers and my son told her that my wife was in fact the mother, and that she wasn't a danger to my son. The new worker still didn't believe it, and said that she didn't feel comfortable with letting a 3-year-old go off with a random woman she'd never seen before. My wife got really upset, and then it upset my son, as everybody was practically saying there was no danger as my wife was the mother. A few other parents got dragged into this and backed up the other staff, and it was only through relenting that the new worker gave up, but she made a really angry comment along the lines of, "Well, maybe if you were here more often, I wouldn't have to verify your identity." My wife wants to forget that it happened, but I am very angry. So the next day I picked up my son and asked to speak to the woman in charge about the new worker. She wasn't there when it happened, but I complained and said that how my wife was treated was ridiculous and that the coworker was out of line for her snide comment at the end. The woman wasn't happy, and now I've learned the new worker has been given a severe warning and that her behavior is being watched. The parents who backed my wife up are torn. Some think I did the right thing as the woman didn't act professional, whilst others think I'm an a-hole for interfering. My wife is annoyed as she thinks I shouldn't have said anything. I really don't know if what I did was right or wrong. So am I the a-hole? Yikes. On the surface, I would say that you are definitely not the a-hole, and I'm shocked that your wife is upset with you for standing up for her. At the same time, I can understand and respect people who look after children for wanting to ensure that they actually leave with their real parents. I would certainly choose to err on the side of caution if I had that kind of job, but she did in fact go too far, and she should have relented once the child, as well as other adults, verified your wife as the mother. Our final story is titled, Am I the a-hole for banning my child from playing video games? So I, 48 male, have a daughter, 16 female, who spends a lot of time playing video games. She's often on voice chat with other people, who she said were friends from school. I've always thought it was a bit suspicious because my daughter has complained about not really having friends at school. I interrupted her doing schoolwork to ask her for a favor, take out the trash, when I saw a weird message pop up on the bottom of the screen. When I asked her who it was, she seemed nervous, but just brushed it off as a friend. After she left, I decided to check her computer and saw the message was from Discord. I took a brief glance at her messages/servers, and I realized these weren't people she knew. I interrogated her about it, and she got defensive because I went onto her computer, but then admitted they were online friends. She said most of them were other girls her age, but some were guys and some were older. Not that it matters, people can lie. I have always had a strict rule with her online access. No online friends, no talking to people online, and preferably no online multiplayer games. You don't know who is behind the screen, and they could be dangerous. This has been a rule since she was a child. I've decided to ban her from playing video games. She's allowed on her PC to do schoolwork, but during strict times and monitored. My daughter started crying when I told her, and said she knew what she was doing and how to be safe. And these were her only friends, and it's quarantine, so she's isolated. I told her this was for her own protection, and she started screaming at me. My daughter hasn't left her room. My wife has taken my side, but I'm wondering if I'm in the right here. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I talked to my daughter about this, and apparently she's been breaking this rule for longer than I thought. Apparently she had online friends when she was 11 to 12 and playing Roblox or Minecraft. She tried to use this to show me she knew what she was doing because nothing ever happened to her back then and she was safe. I'm furious that she broke this rule, even when she was little, and has no respect for me. I have acknowledged that it's difficult to find stuff to do during this time. I've decided to allow her to play single-player games, but only for a limited time, and she has to ask permission and show me the game she's playing and proof that it's single-player. I did tell her she could play online if I could join the call and listen in on conversations and read all her messages. She refused, saying I would make things awkward and it would be embarrassing for her friends, and she'd rather not play at all than have me sit in during a call. I thought this was suspicious. What is she hiding? I'm going to be looking up a tutorial for blocking Discord on her internet, but she is still able to play games during this time. The people of Reddit have dubbed you the a-hole, and I mostly agree, but I can also understand your point of view. Online access is so vital to our modern culture, but the dangers out there can be very real. I'm probably more laxed than most parents, and I've had conversations with my children and trust them to be careful with what they say online, while leaving the door open for them to come and talk to me if someone is acting strange or harassing them in their favorite games. I can't foul a parent for having their child's best interests at heart, and I know you feel disrespected, but if she's doing her schoolwork and trying to socialize during quarantine, I'd suggest maybe revising the rules so that she knows you trust her and want her to be happy. Do you guys feel the same way that I do? Or do you perhaps feel differently about any of today's stories? I always value the perspective of the community in the comments and welcome you to share your own judgments below. Anyways, that's about all the time we have for today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you once again for tuning in with me, Jesse. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content, and check out what other stories I have for you. Have a beautiful day, and don't be an a-hole.